Welcome back. You're watching live from Paris on France 24. It's time now to find out what all the French journalists are talking and tweeting and all the rest of it about today. It's time for Media Watch. Olivia Salazar-Winsper is here. Good evening to you, Olivia.
Hello.
Now, they've been in government barely a week, I think, the new French cabinet, but already a few gaffes managing to make their way out into the public sphere. Tell us more.
Yes, new Defence Minister Christiane Taubira has really felt the full force of Twitter's ire today. She's been the target of a lot of bad press and a lot of nasty tweets.
Oh dear.
Now, this is all to do with her project, a draft bill about eliminating correctional tribunals for minors, that is under 18s. And this policy comes from the top. François Hollande had already talked about basically taking under 18s out of the criminal justice system that's normally reserved for misdemeanors for adult people. So as Defence Minister, she'll be pushing this through and she'll be trying to make this a reality. The people, politicians on the right have come out against her, tweeting here. We've got a few examples of how they think that's not appropriate. They've been using Twitter to voice their opposition to this plan, but also just generally to criticise Christiane Taubira as a politician.
A bit of mudslinging going on.
A little bit of mudslinging has started. They've started digging up stuff from her past, and especially one comment she made in relation to the election this year. Now, there were reports of people at the Bastille, when François Hollande won the presidential election, burning the French flag, which is illegal in France. Now, this is a part of a larger context where many people on the left felt that the UMP and the Front National had really hijacked the French flag as their symbol. So she's reported to have said that she believed this was understandable in this atmosphere of joy to burn the French flag. Now, a UMP senator has come out and said, May the 6th, foreign flags at the Bastille. Now, Taubira says that those who've burnt the French flag won't be punished, which is, of course, scandalous because it's...
So they're really going after her already,
Yeah,
aren't they?
it's illegal, of course, to burn a flag. Now, all of this is irrelevant anyway because she didn't actually say it. The source was...
She certainly didn't burn a flag,
No,
did she?
she wasn't out doing that. She's not so anti-French. The source was proved false. But this hasn't shaken off the whole kind of reputation around it. I mean, Jean-Marie Le Pen was quick to say that this woman, who was an MP for French Guiana, which is an overseas department, part of France, he says that in the 80s and 90s she was pro-independence, so she's not really on the right team. So the woman's come in for a lot of
She was the big
press.
shocker of the night when the cabinet was unveiled, wasn't she? A lot of people were quite surprised about her getting a pretty senior ministerial post, isn't it?
A key post. And of course, things are going from bad to worse press-wise for Taubira, because while she was at a basketball match on Friday to promote rehabilitation and give a positive vision of the prison system, which was a basketball match between inmates and prison guards at Bercy in eastern Paris, one of the inmates escaped during the match.
Oh dear.
Now, this was only noticed in the evening when the administration got back to the prison. They only had 12 people coming back with them on the coach and not 13 as they should have done. Of course,
Did they catch him in the end, or?
No, police are still
out
searching
on the
for
loose,
him.
is he?
So if you see a young man, 22 years old, who was incarcerated for theft, then you should ring the Ministry of Defence.
Oh dear, I'm sure he won't be hanging around the France 24 studios. But anyway, let's move on. I thought we'd seen the back of elections here in France, but not the case. We've got the parliamentary vote coming up in 3 weeks' time?
Yes, exactly. It's all starting, and the media, of course, is revving up, giving us its analysis so far. Now, today we've got two main issues in the papers. Atlantico.fr is giving us an analysis, a bigger picture of who are these 6,591 candidates. There's a lot of possible MPs. What they're trying to see is whether these people represent the French people, those who'll be voting for them. And on the whole, they say there are a few good points, that there are more women, for example, 41% women, which is a real improvement. But in general, they're saying...
certainly better than some other countries in Europe.
Oh, certainly. And France has made huge
the
strides.
UK.
Indeed. Terrible showing for the Parliament in the UK. No, that was the one thing that they applauded. Otherwise, they did say there seemed to be a trend towards career politicians. That is, people who've
Welcome
gone
to 2012.
Up, yeah, exactly. Gone up through the ranks of the party or had very high-ranking posts in the civil service.
They've never had real jobs.
Exactly, and they do underline a lack of people from the private sector, from the agricultural sector, and saying that it's quite this very elite intellectual politician class, which is strange because it's not really representative of the people that they're going to be talking for. Now, the other issue, which I found quite interesting in terms of expats, of which we are as well, there are, of course, constituencies for French nationals who live abroad. And they're organised into 11 constituencies because there are hundreds of thousands, if not a million, French people abroad. They're organised by areas for 100,000 French nationals. So where you've got 100,000 French nationals, you've got an MP. And some of them are very logical. For example, you've got the US is one. South America is another. But this one, number 11, is Russia, China, Japan, Australia. And of course, the comment that Rue 89 makes here is that people voting in this constituency don't necessarily have the same, questions for their MP. And also, they've made a few big changes for those voting abroad. Of course, they'll be voting on the internet.
Yeah.
They've given them a longer period to vote because normally it's a bit difficult getting to the polling stations, and the turnout's normally very low, 40% for the presidential election. So they're hoping to up that.
All right, now just before you go, I don't know about you, Olivia, but I would never make any bet that if I lost, I would have to do something to my hair. I don't know about you, but that's what one football manager did, didn't
came a cropper in this bet, you might say. Loulou Nicolin, the boss of Montpellier football team, he got so carried away by the success of this little team that won big at the weekend. They beat Paris Saint-Germain.
They did very well, didn't they?
He opted to dye his hair the colours of the team strip and also to copy the haircut of one of his players, which was a mohawk.
So it's
for example.
orange and blue mohawk.
Orange and blue mohawk. And he says, yeah, I'm happy with it. It looks good. I'm proud of my team.
What a shocker. All right, good stuff, Olivia Salazar Winspear. Many thanks indeed. That's it for Media Watch.